welcome to our show, Radhika Talks. Today, we chat to a very inspiring lady, an award-winning journalist, psychologist, writer, lecturer, but also a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a counselor, and a friend. We chat to the amazing Dr. Devi Rajab. Thank you for being on our show, Dr. Rajab.
Well, it's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I have to admit, I'm always so inspired by the articles you write in the paper. I'm curious to know, from a psychology background, what inspired you to start writing?
Well, in a way, I was given an invitation to write a regular column many years ago. I think the newspaper was beginning to reform, in the sense that they were looking for a black voice. And so I was really one of the first Indian women columnists. So it was really an invitation to me. I wasn't sure, I hadn't done that sort of thing before. And from that humble beginnings, it's just been going on for over 13 years or 14 years now.
Well, in hindsight, I'm sure you're happy that you took on that challenge.
Yes, I think I am, because it gives you an opportunity to make comments about what is going on in the country. It's very empowering in a way, yeah.
Now, many of you may not know that Dr. Devi Rajab comes from a family of very accomplished and dynamic women. We're going to ask her to share a little bit of information about the women in her family.
Well, my eldest sister is a political scientist, sociologist rather. She's a professor of sociology in Vancouver. And she would be, in my estimation, a real academic, in the sense that she writes seriously about political situations. And then I have a brother who lives in America, and he's a denturist. And then I have a younger sister who is a political scientist and who lived in America but returned to South Africa and owns a beautiful farm growing proteas yeah, so she's put down her roots with her American husband.
Oh, how very novel that you have a sister who you could say is a farmer.
Yes. Yes, in a way, yes.
Now, a big part of your influence in your growing up years has been your mum, and recently you penned a very loving letter to your mum who turned 100. So please explain to us a little bit more about that. I'm sure our viewers would be happy to know.
My mother is certainly a remarkable woman at 101. She has so many bits of wisdom to impart on us. But you know, the thing that stands out is that my mother had a tremendous respect for education. And so all four children, particularly the girls, were sort of coerced and shaped to make their lives very, very, special. So in that respect, she's really quite dynamic.
Now, Dr. Rajab can claim that she has enjoyed a successful interfaith marriage, and I'm sure you all would like to know the secret to that kind of success in marriage.
Yes, I mean, when one looks back, one would agree with you that it was not without its challenges. It took us 10 years. We met when I was 18 and my husband-to-be was 19. And we went through university. He was studying law and I was studying psychology, and we just knew that it would be too difficult. In any event, I think that we weren't entirely convinced that we were ready for marriage at that point. And I then went overseas to America and for 3 years, but we wrote to each other for 3 years, and then I came back and we went on for 5 years writing and telephoning each other, and was a long courtship, and so when eventually we married, it was like a great thing in this community, and newspapers were going on for several weeks. Rajab A marries Hindu lecturer, and so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. But we overcame all of that because we had wonderful people who were supporting us. There were so many progressive elements in the community, and they were so good to us. And so our marriage today, we have children who have all married out. My daughter has married a Jew, my son has married a Christian, and nobody in the family expects anyone to convert. So we say we all are believers and we respect whoever you are, and it's beautiful. So I don't know what my grandchildren would be, but it's a lovely, lovely feeling.
And I have to say, that's such a wonderful attitude to foster,
Yeah.
especially not just for ourselves, but for the future generations.
Yeah.
The society we live in, especially the Rainbow Nation of South Africa, I don't think, we should slot people into boxes. And
Yeah.
lucky for you, how long have you now been married for?
Oh, a good 42 years.
And we can safely say that
Yeah.
a 40-year marriage in itself is challenging, but you've managed to pull 42 years with an interfaith marriage, but it's a testament to the kind of person that you are, always trying to, succeed in whatever you endeavor.
Well, I'll tell you what I find interesting in this marriage was that I had a wonderful relationship with my mother-in-law. She was a fairly uneducated woman, but in terms of culture and so forth, she was really warm and loving and sort of embraced you. And I learned a lot from her, and I also learned a lot about another community, the warmth within that community, and the people and how they accept you. Had I not made this marriage, I would never have known about the beauty of another community. So from that point of view, I'm so happy that I've made a marriage that I can't say was ever boring. It was never boring.
That's good to know. Now, what I want to know is, can you attribute your success to the love and support of your spouse? Because I know a lot of women in the limelight, real ambitious go-getters, sometimes they lack that kind of support from their spouses, and I've seen a lot of marriages crumble. But can you attribute some of your success to your hubby?
Yes, I think very much so, because my husband is an educated man in the sense that he reads, he knows history, and so on and so on. So our relationship, is a good one. Also, he has an eminent respect for education and women. And so he was always there behind me. He would sometimes terrify me when I'd write a column and he'd say, "Devi, this is rubbish." And I would say, "Oh dear," I had to go back and re-sort it out, do it this way, we would have discussions. So he was always there, a little heavier sometimes when he'd say, "You've got to study, you've got to finish that article, you've got to do the next thing."
He would crack the whip sometimes.
He would. But my father was equally a wonderful role model in my life, a wonderful man. And so I've been enriched by men who have been greatly supportive of me.
Well, I have to tell you, and I'm sure our viewers will agree, you really are very blessed in that regard, because like I said, I've seen a lot of women with absolute great ambitions, really achieve them because of that lack of support. And one of the things about you is that you're very supportive of women and their accomplishments. You've managed to pen quite a few books. And we have some of the books that you've penned, and you've managed to incorporate a lot of other successful women as well. You've given them a platform, and you've highlighted their successes as well, and for me that's a big deal.
Thank you, thank you. This project of mine has been a collaborative one with Ranjit Kali, who's an award-winning photographer. And one day he came to my house and he had all these marvelous photographs. And I said, "Ranjit, we have to do something about women." So I gathered all of this, and then over 2 years, he and I went throughout the country interviewing people. And it has been the greatest education for me to discover all of this. So this book has taken me to America, it's taken me to England, it's taken me to India, It's been a wonderful travel companion because everybody wants to know about South African women and what has happened over indenture. And another thing, it has been written up as a play called Botu, with and so that I find was a wonderful contribution there. So we still intend going around. It's even in the Soweto Library, which I find great. And my favorite picture there is the one of Ma Ntuli and Christopher. And they're both old people, and their two bodies are entwined into each other. And for me, that is a great statement of how, you know, Africa has. I said in the book that Indians were born in South Africa. They were, what is I conceived in India, but
they were created in made in India, but created in South Africa.
Thank you.
I did read that part, and I was going to tell you that that's so unique because we always wrestle with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people will ask you, you know, you're from India, your ancestors came from India. So are you Indian or African? And what would you answer to that? Are you Indian or African?
That's a very good question. When I first went to India for the very first time, and I was, you know, fairly middle-aged then, and I looked at my husband and I said, oh my goodness, there's so many Indians here. So immediately I realized that I'd never seen myself in a majority. I'd never seen all, you know, that sort of thing. That I'm obviously seeing them with different eyes. And so what are those different eyes? And that different eyes is, you know, it's layers and layers. If you go if you go overseas, you know, your hands will start bristling, your hair will stand on its end when you hear Zulu. Or when you pick up something that's, you know, reminiscent of your country, and then you realize that really is my country more than India is, you know.
Yes, yeah.
But one of the reasons why I embarked on this project is that one half doesn't know the other half. And so I tell the story. When I told the story in the Constitutional Court, Winnie Mandela was there. And she said, I told the story of Veliama. And I told the story also of Fila Ndwendwe and how she was executed naked, right? Anyway, so when Winnie came to the fore, she said, I have never ever known that there were other fighters before us. This little 16-year-old Indian girl had died in prison, and she didn't know that. And the whole problem, I feel, is that one side doesn't know the other.
Absolutely.
And this is the challenge in post-apartheid for all of us.
I agree wholeheartedly. I have to know, what for you is the biggest regret that you have, if any at all?
Okay, my biggest regret, but I don't think I'm really responsible for this, is that I don't know an African language. I wish I could just speak it, you know?
Well, considering that your mom learned to paint so late in the years, I wouldn't write that dream off too soon.
No, but I mean, you know, idiomatically perfect.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, you know, November is an anniversary of the arrival of Indians in South Africa. It's a milestone for the Indians in South Africa, and you've been interviewed quite a few times relating to that arrival. Do you think, you know, the Indians in South Africa are really embracing the opportunities that come their way, considering the hardships that their ancestors had to face when they arrived?
Yes, I think when you look at our research, there has been a renaissance. You know, when I came back from America, I could not find a job in South Africa. And although I had the background, I couldn't serve my people. And then I had to serve them, you know, ethnically into one. I would have loved to have had an open situation as it is now. But when you look at what women have accomplished today, post-apartheid, Indian women in particular, there has been a renaissance of opportunities after 1994. although we grumble that the medical school, and that is a real problem, that young children growing post-apartheid are not having opportunities as much as they would like.
Yes.
Nevertheless, when you take the whole scenario, you will find that Indians in South Africa have done pretty well in comparison to Indians in the diaspora. You take Indians in Trinidad, you take Indians everywhere else. I'm saying as indentured people, we have done very well.
And I'm sure many of our viewers don't know that your mum adopted a black child. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, that's right. When we were little, my mother took over the rearing of a little boy called Sipho, because he was so highly intelligent, and he stayed with us and so forth. But we were asking ourselves philosophical questions like, are we good to this child? How would we raise this child in an apartheid country? And who would he go to school with? And who would he marry? And are we confusing this child? And in 1968, we had to leave this country, well, by choice, not had to, yes, in some respects, for the Immorality Act, because my elder sister was getting married to a German, and then the Group Areas Act, because we were living in the Botanic Gardens area, and we had to move. And my brother tried to get into medical school, and that didn't work. So my father said, let's all go. And so we left to go to Germany to have the wedding in 1968. I got a Fulbright scholarship to America, and I went there. My brother went to London. My parents went then eventually to Canada, and my sister was in Germany. So the entire family was all over had split. After the new government came in, some of us came back. I came back earlier because of the love of my life, and then my parents came back in little bits because they had some land and they would have lost it, and they were missing their relatives. And then my sister, who had married an American, she came back, fell in love in South Africa, sold all their properties in America, and they now live in Stellenbosch, have this huge estate called Moor's End, which is a bed and breakfast, and they grow proteas and so forth. So half of us are here, and the other half are still overseas.
And what became of Sipho?
Sipho, when we left in 1968, we made a decision that we would pay for his education and that he would go back to his mother. It was a difficult one, but that was the best thing for him, I guess, that he did have an education. We eventually lost contact with them as the mother and the child. She was a domestic worker for the neighbor next door. But these are the sad things that happen in South Africa.
I'm very curious to know how somebody who's got a degree in psychology ends up being a writer. So please tell us your passion for psychology and where it's led you to.
I think that it was an opportunity that was given to me, and psychology was a wonderful background for me, particularly social psychology, which looked at sociology and looked at, it looked like social science. So it wasn't pure clinical, you know. And I would, if I had a second choice, I would still choose psychology. I think it was a great background for me.
Well, interesting to know. And has your study of psychology helped you when you write your articles?
Very much so. Very much so.
I'm sure, like me, our viewers out there are also curious to know where do you get your inspiration for your choice of topics in the newspaper, because you had an excellent article for Women's Month. So where do you draw your inspiration?
Good question. I don't know. Actually, I think a lot of it is within you, and it's your life experiences and how you see the world. So I think it's a conglomeration of all of that, of who you are and what experiences you've made and interacting with other people. in different walks of life. I must say that I do enjoy meeting other people and hearing their stories, and so writing for me is a constant internal journey. And I sit and I write anywhere with a little slip of paper here, a thought comes. When you're reading a book and you say, well, what is happening there? And then a thought comes, and then you jot that down. So your mind is constantly working, so much so that I have difficulty sleeping sometimes.
Oh wow, that's very deep. So I just pop into your head every time of day. Dr. Rajab, we have a very few short questions for the literary gem that you are. We like to get some quick answers. I need you to complete these sentences. My best friend is...
Oh, I think my daughter.
Oh, that's normal. And my favorite accessory?
Oh, it's jewelry. I love jewelry.
And your guilty pleasure is?
Oh, eating the chocolate cake.
And I won't leave home without?
My handbag.
What I would take to a desert island is?
A book.
No surprises there.
And paper and pencil. Paper and pencil.
I expected that. I really did. But Dr. Rajab, thank you. You've been such a gem on our show. I'm sure our viewers are going to really enjoy watching our interview. I know I've had so much of fun. You really are so articulate, and you everything that I expected you to be. You're so knowledgeable, and it's nice that you can share all of that with our viewers. So thank you very much for taking this opportunity to share your life experience with us. I'm sure whatever you've said will add value to some of our viewers, and you must keep doing what you're doing. You know, you are watched, you are observed, you are admired, you are looked up to, so keep at it, and thank you so much for being on our show. Welcome.
Thank you. Can I reciprocate? Can I say how much I've enjoyed being interviewed by you, and how I think that you're doing a wonderful job as well. So highly commendable for a young attorney to try her skills in another area, and so for us that's inspirational as well.
Vanakkam.